Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Sigsang, and today we're going to be doing a review on Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts to me always seemed like an impossible collaboration to happen. You had one of the biggest entertainment giants in the world in Disney creating a game alongside the makers of Final Fantasy, Square Enix. But as you're aware, this seemingly impossible marriage is a reality, and it's kind of a big deal. The original Kingdom Hearts released in 2002 exclusively on the PlayStation 2. Since then, there have been many different re-releases and repackages of this game. The version I played for this review was the final mix version included in the 1.5 HD remix for the PS4. That's a mouthful, but in simplistic terms, this is the most modern way to play the original Kingdom Hearts. I was able to play this version on my PS5, and just to note, currently there is no optimized version for the PS5, but it runs great regardless. This was actually my first time playing through Kingdom Hearts. Growing up, I didn't own a PS2, but I had a few friends that did, and they loved this game. Personally, I didn't really understand the hype at the time. For one, I had no experience with the Final Fantasy series. I was mostly into Mario, Sonic, and Pokemon as a kid. Also, I was never really into Disney besides from watching stuff on Disney Channel. But the impact that this game had in the gaming world was undeniable. The success of this game spawned many different sequels, and it quickly became one of the most beloved franchises in the gaming community. Still, I remained out of the loop until I became older. My first PlayStation console I purchased was in 2018, and it was the PS4 Pro. And even with the looming release of Kingdom Hearts 3 in 2019, I still wasn't paying the franchise any attention for some reason. Honestly, I think what actually sparked me finally giving the series a try was me getting more into Disney as an adult and also loving the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Star Wars, one of my favorite franchises ever, is now owned by Disney, as well as the majority of all things Marvel. With these acquisitions, the Disney theme parks have now added a plethora of attractions related to these franchises. And over the past few years, I've been fortunate enough to go to Disneyland a few times, and I really enjoyed my time there. On the other side of the spectrum, Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of my favorite games I played in recent years. I'm super excited for the next installment in the remake series, which is slated to release sometime between 2023 and 2024. So with this in mind, you can better understand what delayed me in playing Kingdom Hearts. It's been a long time coming, but I was excited to jump into this game essentially 20 years after its original release. Now, let's dive into it. As with most of my reviews, just want to preface that this video will contain spoilers. I want to start off with a brief summary of the premise of this game, but before I do that, please note that the majority of my summarizing is from the perspective of a first-time player. And if you didn't know, the rabbit hole of Kingdom Hearts lore is very deep. I've done some research here and there, but I'll do my best to just talk about this game's story on a surface level. Feel free to correct me on stuff in the comments. The game begins with three best friends, Sora, Kairi, and Riku. Sora being the main protagonist of the game and who you'll be playing as. Kairi appears to be somewhat of a love interest, and Riku is a competitive friend of Sora, who also seems to have feelings for Kairi. The three of them live on the Destiny Islands, which has a very chill and tropical vibe. They talk about their dreams to explore the unknown and decide to build a raft so they can leave the island. The night before they set sail, their island comes under attack of the Heartless, the main enemies in the game. As Sora fights through them to find his friends, he finds Riku, who starts babbling on about going through the darkness to escape the island. Both he and Sora become engulfed by the darkness. Riku disappears, but Sora ends up emerging with a Keyblade and makes his way towards the secret place. The secret place is a cave area on the island where he and his friends would sometimes hang out. When he gets there, he finds Kairi, but a door in the secret place bursts open and lets out a gust of darkness. In this moment, Kairi's soul seems to become infused into Sora. He's then blown away by the darkness and eventually gets sucked into a wormhole that drops him into a different world. Meanwhile, in a separate world, Donald and Goofy are freaking out at the Disney castle because King Mickey has gone missing. There was a note left by Mickey that explains he has left to figure out why stars have been disappearing from the sky. While he is gone, he instructs them to find the Keyblade Master, as he will be the key to their survival. Donald and Goofy then make preparations to leave on their ship to Traverse Town. This is where they meet up with Sora for the first time. In Traverse Town, you are greeted by some familiar faces from the Final Fantasy series, namely Leon, Luffy, and Aerith. Leon and Luffy explain what's happening to Sora, and Aerith explains the situation to Donald and Goofy. Normally, the worlds in the universe are separated by invisible walls, but the Heartless have caused the worlds to become intertwined. The objective of the Heartless is to consume worlds until there is nothing left, and they are attracted by the darkness in people's hearts. Worlds have become infested with the Heartless and can only be stopped by the one that wields the Keyblade. Shortly after they are clued in, Sora, Donald, and Goofy finally meet each other and decide to team up to explore the different worlds. Sora's main objective being to find his friends, and Donald and Goofy's to find Mickey. To travel between worlds, use the same ship Donald and Goofy used in the beginning. This is known as the Gummy Ship. As the player, you get to physically control the ship as you travel. These bits of the game consist of shooting down enemy ships, dodging asteroids, and collecting items. You can also customize and change the type of ship you fly, but I didn't really mess with the base ship's features. As you progress through the game, traversing space becomes more difficult with the Gummy Ship, but nothing too strenuous. Eventually, you also gain the ability to fast travel between worlds you've been to before, which makes switching between worlds a breeze. Visiting and exploring different worlds I would say was one of my favorite parts of the game. This is where you really get to experience the Disney influence, as each one is based on different series of movies. The first main world you visit is Wonderland, based off of Alice in Wonderland. Here, you'll see many things from the original movie, get to interact with relevant characters, and just become immersed in this world while being able to roam freely. The objectives in each world are unique, and the types of enemies you battle differ as well. Once you clear the world, you'll be able to seal the keyhole. The keyhole is what allows the Heartless access to consume the hearts of people in the world. Once it is sealed, they can no longer do this and the world cannot be destroyed. In the beginning, the gang doesn't really know the significance of the keyholes, but I figured I'd throw that out there. There's a decent selection of worlds to explore in Kingdom Hearts 1. From Agrabah and Aladdin to Atlantica from The Little Mermaid, these worlds will be familiar to you if you're a fan of Disney. My favorite of the bunch would have to be Halloween Town from The Nightmare Before Christmas. I love the spooky vibes it offers, and I think it has the most contrast of the available worlds since it's a departure from the standard Disney art style. Also, Sora, Donald, and Goofy dress up in this world to blend in, and their outfits are really cool. They do this in some of the worlds since they don't want to stick out to the locals. I think the only things I didn't enjoy about exploring was the lack of a map and listed objectives. Although the worlds aren't too big, there are times you need to backtrack, and it's easy to get lost in some of the worlds that have similar environments throughout. Also, if you take a break and forget what happened in the last character interaction / cutscene, you may struggle to figure out what to do next since there are no objectives posted on the screen or in the menu. These are just minor flaws that I assume are a byproduct of this game's age. Next up, let's talk about the combat system in Kingdom Hearts. For the longest time, I thought this was a turn-based RPG, but to my surprise, it's more of an action hack-and-slash RPG, a combat system I enjoyed for the most part. The Keyblade is Sora's main weapon, and it offers a variety of different ways to play the game. You have physical attacks as well as magic attacks that vary from being able to cast fire to being able to heal yourself and your teammates. You're also able to leap into the air to attack bigger / flying enemies and pull off combos that look really sick. As for Donald and Goofy, they also aid you in attacking enemies. Donald is more of a mage user and consistently uses ranged attacks. Goofy uses a shield and is more of a physical attacker. These characters are not controllable by the player, but you can adjust how they act in combat in the game's settings. Each character has an HP gauge as well as an MP gauge, which are located on the right side of the screen. The green HP gauge tracks your health, while the MP gauge is for your ability to cast magic attacks. These gauges can increase by equipping different items and leveling up the characters. We'll talk more about that soon. As mentioned before, the main enemies in Kingdom Hearts are the Heartless, and they are who you'll battle in each world. While you progress through the game, the types of Heartless you encounter will change, and some are exclusive to each world. This keeps the combat fresh, and the difficulty of the Heartless you face scale as you and the crew travel between worlds. Another neat feature is being able to add different characters to your party. In some of the worlds, you will have the option to add a character to your squad and have them battle alongside you in place of Donald or Goofy. Battling alongside characters like Tarzan or Peter Pan is fun, and some of these characters are kind of broken. It is worth pointing out though that you can't take these characters with you to different worlds, which is a bit of a bummer, but makes sense in context to the story. In addition to the standard combat system, you'll have the option to equip different abilities to each character. This includes basic stuff like being able to see enemy health bars, but also some cool stuff like adjusting your combos. You only have a certain number of points to allocate to your abilities, so you have to be creative with which abilities you equip. Leveling up allows this number to increase, and the amount of available abilities will go up as well. The main way of leveling up is by defeating enemies, and each level grants new stats, whether it be increased strength or more health. You'll be happy to receive these bonuses. One of the biggest things to mention with progression in this game has to be the variety of Keyblades. Although I love the look of the Kingdom Key, it's not the strongest in the game. As you complete worlds and do side quests, you gain access to new Keyblades. Some offer increased range, more MP, and or higher crit percentage. Which Keyblade you decide to equip is up to you and your playstyle. My Sora was more physical damage oriented, so I lean more towards Keyblades with good range and increased MP to heal myself. Since Donald and Goofy don't use Keyblades, you can buy and find different weapons for them. Depending on how you want them to support you, you can choose from a good range of different staffs and shields. There are also accessories you can equip to each character, and just like the weapons, the stats of each vary and you equip them depending on your needs. Need more MP, or maybe some fire resistance? The customization in this game has you covered. Now that we've covered the main gameplay in Kingdom Hearts, let's talk about boss battles. The bosses you face in the world are usually the bad guys from the related series/movies. For example, in Halloween Town, you'll face Oogie Boogie since he's the main villain in The Nightmare Before Christmas. I kid you not when I say some of these boss battles were some of the most difficult I faced this year. I try my best not to look at guides or help videos when I'm playing through these games for my review videos, but some of these bosses had very specific win conditions. On top of this, most of them have a phase 2, which is usually more difficult than the first fight. I think the boss I struggled with the most, besides from the endgame, was Ursula in Atlantica. Not only is her first phase very specific, the second phase is just an onslaught of attacks, and it doesn't help that you're a fish when fighting Ursula. The good thing is, if you have time to spare and like grinding through RPGs, there's plenty of stuff you can do in the game so that you're better prepared for these boss battles. Let's circle back to the main story now. Remember how Sora, Kairi, and Riku all got separated? Riku was consumed by the darkness on the Destiny Islands, but we didn't really know where he went. He ends up in a world named Hollow Bastion, a world where all the main villains of the game have gathered. Here, he comes into contact with Maleficent, the leader of the band of villains. Her main goal is to manipulate Riku by making him believe that Sora no longer cares about him or Kairi, and he falls right into her trap. As the story goes on, Riku's only goal now is to save Kairi by any means necessary. Once he finds Kairi, she isn't herself, and Maleficent explains to Riku that she has lost her heart. Again, she uses her twisted ways to trick him into believing her, but this time, it's in regards to a big plan. She brings up the plan of gathering the 7 Princesses of Hearts so that they can gain access to the door of Kingdom Hearts, the name of a place said to have unlimited wisdom. Here, he may be able to find a way to save Kairi, and with this being his top priority, he decides to buy into this idea. Riku and Sora encounter each other multiple times throughout the game. With each encounter, he becomes more and more jaded towards Sora. Eventually, they meet in Neverland, where Riku reveals to Sora that he has finally found Kairi. He also explains that he can now control the Heartless and is adamant that he cannot be consumed by the darkness because his heart is too strong. After this encounter, the gang makes their way to Hollow Bastion and are greeted by Riku once again. This time though, Riku is able to take the Keyblade from Sora, and Donald and Goofy decide to follow Riku as he appears to be the real Keyblade master. With Donald, Goofy, and his Keyblade gone, Sora's options are very limited. Luckily, he bumps into Beast from Beauty and the Beast, who is there looking for Belle. The two agree to team up and make their way through the castle. Once they're in, they find Riku, Donald, and Goofy. Riku tries to strike Sora down with his dark powers, but Goofy jumps in to protect Sora with his shield. Goofy and Donald decide to side with Sora once again, and he's able to get back his Keyblade. After defeating Riku, he makes a run for it, and the gang plus Beast continue exploring the castle. Eventually, they encounter Maleficent and have to battle her. Her first phase isn't too bad, but when she transforms into a dragon, I started to have a difficult time. At this point in my playthrough, I remembered a feature that I hadn't used, the summon ability. Sora in some instances has the ability to summon characters to aid him in battle. This includes the likes of Simba, Bambi, and my personal favorite, Tinkerbell. The reason Tinkerbell is my favorite is because she provides passive healing in battle, meaning if you take damage, she will gradually heal you back to full health. You can take a lot of damage if you're not careful versus Maleficent, but I was able to power through thanks to the summon ability. After defeating Maleficent, you enter the Grand Hall where you can see all the princesses trapped. This includes Alice, Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, Jasmine, Cinderella, and Belle. But this is only 6 out of the 7 Princesses of Heart. So who could the last one be? The last princess is none other than Kairi, which is revealed to Sora by Riku. Riku doesn't seem to be himself this time around, and has actually fallen under control of Ansem, a researcher who had been studying the Heartless but had gone missing. Ansem tells Sora that Kairi's heart lies within Sora himself, and it is needed to open the keyhole to Kingdom Hearts. This may seem a bit confusing, but remember the beginning on Destiny Island when Kairi flew into Sora? Well, I think this is when Kairi's heart became one with Sora. Although her body still physically existed, it was a shell of herself because her actual heart was in Sora. Ansem possesses a Keyblade that allows him to unlock people's hearts, and because Sora has Kairi's, a boss battle ensues. In this boss battle, you have to fight him solo, which means you don't have help from Donald or Goofy, and you lose the ability to summon. This one took me a few tries to complete, but once I beat it, I felt pretty accomplished. Now, in order to seal the keyhole, Kairi's heart had to be returned, so Sora uses the Keyblade that Ansem left behind to free Kairi's heart from his body. Kairi finally wakes up, but Sora ends up becoming a Heartless and disappears for a few scenes. Ansem makes a brief appearance in his real form, but is stopped by what appears to be a ghost of Riku. As Riku protects Kairi and the others, he tells them to run as the Heartless begin to appear. Now exiting Hollow Bastion, the group runs into Sora's Heartless form, and Kairi is able to bring Sora back to his original self. After the sequence, they return to Traverse Town and fill Leon and the others in on what happened. The team regroups and decides to head to Hollow Bastion one last time to seal the keyhole that appeared there. It's worth noting though that this keyhole looks very different from the others they encounter. Before sealing it, Leon and the other Final Fantasy characters explain to the group that locking the keyhole and defeating Ansem should restore the universe back to normal. However, the walls between worlds will be restored and traveling between the worlds will no longer be possible. This makes Sora sad, but the group states that their hearts will always be connected due to the memories they share with one another. After sealing the keyhole, the other 6 princesses are freed and tell Sora that Ansem's presence can be felt in a distant world. With this info, Sora, Donald, and Goofy board the gummy ship to travel to the final world named the End of the World. This world was created from the fragments of all the worlds that had been consumed by the Heartless, and deep within is where they find Ansem. Their journey through the End of the World is really neat because it has you battle through sections of the previous worlds you visited. It's almost like a condensed trial of your entire journey thus far, and it's something I thought was a nice touch. At the conclusion of revisiting these worlds, you battle what looks like a giant demon. I'm not sure what this boss was named or what it represented, but once it's defeated, you gain access to another section of the world. After battling some enemies, you make your way to the area known as Final Rest. Here is your last chance to save before the conclusion of the game. You can proceed through a door that leads to an area that looks like the Destiny Islands, but this area is not the same as Sora once knew. It appears corrupted, and on the beach, you run into Ansem. The final boss battle in Kingdom Hearts is broken up into what feels like 10 phases, but technically, it's about 3. In Phase 1, Ansem faces you while flying around with his Guardian. This phase is very easy since you have Donald and Goofy with you, as well as the ability to summon. Shout out again to Tinkerbell. However, in Phase 2, you have to face Ansem solo, and he gains some new tricks. When I first faced him, I was level 53 as Sora. Mind you, I'm not the most technically skilled player, so dodging and timing guard attacks are not my specialty. I faced him for a couple of hours but made no significant progress. I decided to backtrack a bit and head to Olympus Coliseum. This is the Hercules base world, and it offers tournaments where you can face off against Heartless and other enemies. I had kind of ignored it besides from the story mission, but this is a great way to grind and level up your characters. After a few hours of grinding, I got to level 60 and earned a new Keyblade, the Lionheart. With my new Keyblade and upgraded stats, I decided to revisit Ansem and was able to beat Phase 2 on my first try. But this wasn't the end of Ansem. Now you face his final form, which undeniably takes heavy inspiration from the Final Fantasy series. Again, you have to face him solo, but after draining his health bar, you are transported to a mysterious area where you face a few Heartless and find Goofy. Once you defeat the Heartless, you return back to the boss battle against Ansem, and this is why I said earlier that facing Ansem felt more like 10 phases rather than 3. You repeat the process as before, and then you're able to free Donald. Finally, the whole crew is back together again, and you're able to take down Ansem once and for all. Once he's defeated, a cutscene plays where Ansem is trying to open the door to darkness. Beyond the door is supposedly Kingdom Hearts, and Ansem believes it can grant him the ultimate power of darkness. As the door opens, he gets consumed by the light, and Sora and the gang hurry to shut the door. Beyond the door are the Heartless, and they have a difficult time closing the door. From the other side, Riku makes an appearance and begins to help them close the door. They still struggle, but they get one last boost of courage by seeing Mickey appear. He reassures them that even though the door will close, there is another door to the light, and finally, they close the door shut. This begins the restructuring of worlds destroyed by the Heartless, and in this realm, Sora sees Kairi before they become separated once again. Kairi returns to the Destiny Islands while Sora stays in this realm? I'm not 100% sure. This final scene kinda confused me, but I'm sure if I read up on it, I can better understand what happened. After the credits, we see Sora, Donald, and Goofy walking along a grassy area, and they bump into Pluto. The story leaves off on a cliffhanger, but they mention their ambition to find the door to the light so they can rescue Mickey and Riku. And this is how Kingdom Hearts 1 ends. There's a ton to unpack with this game, and I wasn't able to cover everything that happens in this review, but the impression it left on me was very positive. I love the overall themes, the combat system, the voice acting, the cheesy but positive storyline. I can go on what I liked about this game, but before we jump into this video's conclusion, I wanted to talk a bit more about the series as a whole and my future plans with it. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I didn't play this game growing up and I never really had that much of an interest in the series, but one thing always stuck with me about Kingdom Hearts that has kind of become a core memory. The commercial for this game that would appear on TV that featured Simple and Clean and a voiceover by Mark Hamill is probably one of my favorite video game commercials of all time. I won't play it in this video, but if you're interested, you can find it with a quick YouTube search. To me, Utada Hikaru's music plays such a big role in my head when I think of Kingdom Hearts. All the mainline Kingdom Hearts games have vocal themes by Utada, and they're honestly all earworms. I can listen to them and never get tired. Besides from that, I won't dive too deep into this game's soundtrack, but do know that hearing the melodies in each world helps build the immersion. What I do want to spend more time on is the legacy of Kingdom Hearts and what I plan on doing with the games for my channel. There's a decent list of Kingdom Hearts games to play, but it isn't as simple as playing the main 3 in the series. I mentioned it before, but I'll reiterate it. The lore in Kingdom Hearts is very complex, and I think even if I played all the games, I'd probably still be confused. However, playing through this game, it really has piqued my interest, and I definitely want to play other entries in the series. But whether I make videos for each entry is up for debate. Right now, I'm thinking I'll do videos on the main 3, but having played the other entries in order beforehand so that I have better context going into them. Of course, these won't be back to back since I like to spread out the games I play, but please let me know in the comments any suggestions you may have about the content I make regarding the Kingdom Hearts series. Without a doubt, I will make more videos on this series in the future. This video ended up being a lot longer than I expected. Obviously, it's no 2-hour deep dive, I don't think I'd have the patience for that, but I did a lot of summarizing on this game's story. I tried my best to simplify it, but if I missed anything or made any errors, feel free to leave a comment down below. I'm still learning about the series and I'm keeping an open mind about it going forward. I kind of already talked about my overall thoughts on the game, but to clarify, I enjoyed Kingdom Hearts. I don't think it's a game for everyone, especially if you're not a fan of Disney or RPGs, but to me, it checked off a lot of boxes and kind of scratched that itch I had for Disney content this holiday season. I look forward to the next game I play in the series, but for now, I need to rest my head before I go deeper into the lore. This is the final video I'll be releasing in 2022, and I'm happy to say it was a great year for this channel. We've seen a lot of growth, made a lot of videos, and received a lot of positive feedback. At this point in time, this channel is still relatively small, but I'm very satisfied with the progress I've made this year, and I thank all of you for supporting me thus far. I have a lot of stuff planned for 2023, and I hope you stick around to see what I have in store. If you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed to already. Thank you so much for watching, hope you tune into the next one, and let's have a great 2023. Peace.